people in Hizmet do not brag about themselves. It's from a different motivation. It's from the idea of doing something that is good in this world and not expecting a reward for it in this world. I'm Richard Webb, Professor and Dean Emeritus at the College of Arts and Humanities, Southern University, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I have been blessed to have a 44-year career in higher education and 60 years as a professional musician. Hizmet's charity activities impressed me and my wife to an astonishing degree when we first went to Turkey, and committed us to many ways of participating and giving back once we returned to the United States. It is something, unfortunately, that with some people being so astonished about it, first think, this is too good to be true. And I must say that, especially we as Americans today, we are conditioned. There are even television commercials or a very popular statement in our culture, if this is something, then it must be too good to be true, from commercials to whatever. So I have had people say to me who know we have been to Turkey that we have experienced a great familiarity with these endeavors, both in Turkey and internationally. Well, that just sounds too good to be true, Dr. Webb. How can that happen? Well, it happens on a great many levels. And going back to something that I reflected upon earlier, I believe it starts with the fact that the charitable giving is inspired in the individual, in circles of people, some diverse, but you might be a member of a circle of businessmen, of educators, of physicians, who are your colleagues, so that you not only have a diverse way of mobilizing and answering the question of what can I do, but then it becomes, well, what can we do for this cause? And then it becomes, well, what can we do not only for people like us, but as a physician, can I use a shovel? Can I buy a shovel? Can I, it's sometimes not just about the money. But I think one thing that occurs to me first and foremost is the decentralized aspect. By being decentralized, it allows someone in the furthest corner of the world from where I am to connect with me, to let me know what they need, and to organize it in a very broad circle. To my knowledge, there is only one centrally organized component in Hizmet, and that was logical following the Marmara region earthquake, that those international fundraising and people-raising efforts were codified in a central location, Kimse. And I've been privileged to be to the headquarters. And perhaps a good way to close the comment on this aspect is to say, many persons would know this already, but that Kimse means, is there anyone there? That's a question that I can't even say without it bringing tears to my eyes, because one can picture any situation of need and the need not being fulfilled, and someone looking at you with great pity, seeking your help and saying, is anybody there to help me? Well, yes, there are thousands. And how can they be mobilized? They can be mobilized on a perpetual basis if they are inspired from within and connected from without. That's what the movement has done. I had just mentioned the too good to be true attitude of so many Americans, and that's one of the things we have exported worldwide. Unfortunately, there are persons in the world whose motives are not always as true and as directed and as inspired and matched against dialogue and for the good of the common united community. There are persons who say not only would something like Hizmet be too good to be true, but there must be something going on. They must be trying to promote the dominance of Islam by making it appear in its best possible light. Raising all this money, we know with things we've seen investigations about, that there's skimming off the top. There's too much spent on the bureaucracy. Well, it is not a well-kept secret. It is a transparent, open, giving, loving force, which in any way has been looked at many times. Journalists have been given every opportunity to study it. Sociologists have studied it. There are many excellent books to which one can refer, journal articles, television programs that can be accessed where extensive studies have been done of Hizmet to verify that, again, its decentralized aspects with such a vast participation and such a great preponderance of the charity going directly from individuals and small groups to the need right in front of the hands, looking into the face that has said, is anybody there, and coming directly forward to do it. And that multiplied on a global sense, can that seem to be too good to be true? Yes, it can, but it is good. It is good to that level, because when children of God can unite, they can do all of the things that the higher power has exhorted them to do and given them the presence to do. Having been privileged to be to Turkey several times, to visit schools, to visit hospitals, one hospital that was begun by 5 persons. That's a monumental charity. That hospital developed the first televised communication for surgery, and the day we visited, we were watching a surgery that was taking place in South Africa, that was being monitored and participated in by surgeons in the United States and there in Izmir. It was absolutely an astonishing thing to see how that one small hospital, it wasn't small when we visited, but when it started, it was a rather small unit, as I understand. We were able to have lunch with one of the founders, who was then the director at the time of our visit. So it was one of the first times when we saw the Hizmet activity in direct action. We had seen it here with the Atlas Foundation in Louisiana and the things in which we were directly involved. But seeing hospitals, seeing schools, seeing neighborhoods, talking to people, fellow educators, a doctor, a gentleman who was a wonderful singer, and I'm a musician. And one thing I always shall remember, beyond his saying that the best tenors came from the region around Urfa because of the pepper. And he sang an original song for us. But people in Hizmet do not brag about themselves. It's from a different motivation. It's from the idea of doing something that is good in this world and not expecting a reward for it in this world. That in itself is something to ponder. And if any religious, spiritual person says something is too good to be true, they need to listen to themselves saying that and realize I'm questioning faith itself by saying something like that, because we don't know the truth of so much in which we believe. That is a definition of faith there. So I found out not from him, but from someone else who was present when he left to get the food to service, that he had been supporting 2 scholarships for young women, 2 full scholarships to a school, and that his business over the past year had had some downturns, and he was not able from his business to continue financing the second scholarship. Well, one might have had the excuse to say, I cannot afford this, I will resume my charity when I can. What did he do? He took a second job, which in the United States would be the equivalent of being a night manager at a Winn-Dixie superstore or a Walmart, and worked many long hours. And he never dropped the second scholarship. And at the time we met him, as vibrant and lively as he was, after entertaining us, he went to his night job and we visited with his wife. I have never forgotten that kind of dedication. That exemplifies that, yes, there are many things that are true that can astonish and inspire us to do better ourselves. First, I perceive the movement as a joining together of the past, the present, and the future.
And I see Hizmet engaged in the type of teaching that leads people to look at deeper issues in life while remaining fully faithful in their approach to life. And that is something that I really, truly, and sincerely appreciate.